What is up, you guys? It's your buddy Upshaw, and for those of you who have been living under a fucking rock, Star Wars Battlefront debuted at E3, and oh my god, does it look amazing. Like, it looks incredible. And if you guys haven't seen the trailer yet, all I've got to really say to you is something like,
I said, bitch, you ain't no nerd. I could have sworn you were.
Now, the gameplay trailer shown at E3 depicted Walker Assault, which is a lot like Rush Mode if you're familiar with the Battlefield series. So, it's a 20 versus 20 multiplayer game mode where rebels defend a base from an Imperial invasion. And what makes things difficult and really sets the objective for the game mode is that the Imperials have 3 massive AT-AT walkers backing them up. Now, unfortunately, those walkers are on rails, but the rebels must do everything they can to destroy the AT-ATs while the Empire fights towards the rebel base. And what makes this mode interesting is that along the way, there are several uplinks, which are basically kind of like capture points, sort of like a Rush MCOM, if, again, you're familiar with the Battlefield series, which I'm sure a lot of you are. And if you activate this uplink, you can call in a Y-Wing bomber raid. And basically this Y-Wing bomber, I will assume, will either do a lot of damage to the AT-AT walkers or completely take them out. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's an interesting way to kind of have multiple capture points or objectives throughout the map that teams must fight over. Now, an interesting thing about Battlefront is the way that the game sets up its perks and equipment system. And what they refer to this as is your hands. And you get basically what is 3 hands. And no, I don't mean you actually have 3 hands on your character model. If you look in the bottom right corner of the screen, you can see that there's 3 white squares there, and each one of those depicts either a perk or a piece of equipment that the player can use. And each of these will have basically what is cooldown times, although some of them are limited. The wiki for Star Wars Battlefront lists that the ion shot or the personal shield are going to be limited to just 5 uses per life, which honestly seems like a bit much, but I guess they'll have a cooldown, and I assume it will be balanced. Maybe. It is DICE after all, so I can't really bet too hard on that. Now, you'll be able to predetermine these hands at the start of the game, and what's interesting is a DICE developer was discussing this and said that, say you wanted to have 2 grenades, you could set 2 grenades into those slots, while you'd have to forego another perk or another piece of equipment. If you really just like nade spamming, which is something I actually hate, you could choose to do that, and it does offer a cool bit of customization to the game and kind of determines how you can play it and customize it to your liking. So just to provide you guys a bit of an example of how you can customize your loadouts in this way, say you wanted to run a bit of a defensive type of player who succeeds in taking out vehicles, you could run a thermal detonator, a personal shield to shield yourself and your teammates, as well as an ion torpedo to really take out that heavily armed objective. Now, if you wanted to run an offensive, say infantry style, you could run a couple grenades and maybe a jump pack for getting the drop on those enemy infantry players. Now, this 3 perk or 3 hand or whatever you want to call it system is also applied to the heroes in this game. Now, the heroes are playable characters who can be used by finding power-ups that are located on the map. When I first saw the trailer, I kind of immediately thought they would have been kill streaks. And basically, maybe once you get 10 kills as an Imperial or a Rebel, you can play as Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker, but that's not the way it is. So basically, there's going to be more of a map control style where you've got to fight for these power-ups that are located in specific positions on the map, which is kind of a fair way to do it, because I feel like if you're completely destroying the enemy team and then you can come in as Luke Skywalker, you're going to fucking dunk on these kids you're playing against, and it's probably not going to be balanced. Now, the first hero that was revealed in the trailer is Luke Skywalker, who I'm sure you're all familiar with, but he will have more of an acrobatic style. And of course, he's going to be using his lightsaber, which has a wide sweeping heavy attack that you can use to take out multiple enemies if they're clustered up. But for more distant targets, Luke will also have the Force Push, which, as you can see in the trailer, is a gratifying move that will send Imperial troops flying and up to like 4 or 5 players at a time, which is just might be a little bit OP. He'll also have what's called the Saber Rush, which lets him use the Force to propel himself forward extremely quickly for a lightning fast attack. The second hero or villain revealed is Darth Vader, who is designed to strike fear into his opponents. Now, he's going to be more ponderous and purposeful in his moves in comparison to Luke, who's going to be more of an acrobatic character, as I said. But his abilities seem to be a little bit stronger and a little bit more heavy hitting. He has a short range use again of his lightsaber, but he's also able to use the Force Choke at a pretty large range, which again could be pretty OP, as well as a saber throw where it is what it sounds like. He launches his lightsaber into a crowd and kills everybody in his path. And I'm sure as you guys get your chance to play this game, that move's probably going to be incredibly satisfying. Now, the third hero or villain that we have some solid details about is Boba Fett. And he's going to be playing out very differently than both Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker is. He has a jetpack that lets him fly high above the battlefield and hover while taking pot shots from the air with his EE3 carbine rifle, which makes the villain extremely mobile, probably pretty hard to take out, and possibly quite annoying. Fett also has 2 wrist launchers, one armed with a rocket, which is perfect for long-range attacks on vehicles and infantry, and one with a flame blast that lets you get up close and personal and completely torch those scrubs you're playing against. You'll want to keep your distance though, especially when Boba Fett battles with the opposing team's heroes. Just to set an example, when Luke Skywalker faces off with Boba Fett, a really interesting cat and mouse game will probably ensue, where Luke must use his abilities to get up close, and Fett must do exactly the opposite. Like the rock, paper, scissors gameplay of previous DICE games such as Battlefield, where you have engineers with RPG going up against tanks while you have your medics trying to heal your engineers who are trying to take out vehicles, yada yada yada. I'm sure you guys get the idea. These fights are going to be aimed to be both tactical, fun, and balanced, even though the game is asymmetrical. And I'm sure DICE will do their best to achieve, quote unquote, that balance. Now, I don't know about you guys, but these trailers have me incredibly stoked for the release of Star Wars Battlefront in the fall. I will be releasing more videos breaking down any details that arise about Star Wars Battlefront in the future. So if you do want to stay tuned for more of those, don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, you guys. You are a bunch of fucking beauties.